multimedia at Berkeley City College, or they want to transfer to Berkeley, or we have international students or out-of-state students who want to go to UC Berkeley and they like Berkeley City College, they're going to go there. So I think we've got to be looking at what the students want. It is not about the colleges. The colleges got to appeal to students, and the programs have to attract students, but the growth is going to determine what the students want, not what the colleges want.
I couldn't agree with you more. When I mentioned this, what I was addressing was what I might perceive as a major difference among the presidents, and that out of courtesy, we should just give them an opportunity to go ahead and argue and battle over what they think is appropriate. But I agree with you. These colleges have to grow in accordance with student demand, not by what we would like to see for ourselves.
Trustee Guillen.
I wanted to get a sense of the total number of stakeholders that attended each of the meetings that took place, if they were representative of the different communities, not only our internal constituencies, but the external constituencies that we're responsible to, particularly those areas that we probably don't do a very good job of outreaching to, like Albany, for example. They're a part of the district. They pay tax dollars in this community for our bond programs, and what sort of efforts were made to make sure that we really got the input that from all different segments of our constituency groups.
We probably got the largest community input in Berkeley from the outside constituency groups outside of the campus. I think by and large, most of the town hall meetings at the other campuses were primarily individuals from the campuses themselves that attended those town hall meetings. Berkeley had a much wider array. We had Chamber of Commerce, we had the school districts, the Emeryville School District was there, and and Berkeley City Schools was there, and we had members of the business community there, and so that one had a much wider range of folks involved in those town hall discussions. The other ones were principally the college communities.
And Mr. President, was that, I'm trying to figure out whether it was a lack of interest from, let's say, our major employers in the area. We know who our top taxpayers are. I mean, were those groups reached out to and specifically outreach to say, hey, we are doing these efforts, and if not, it's important for us, I think, as a board to know if the community isn't being one, if we didn't do a good job of outreaching, okay, that's one element. But if there's some resistance to the community engaging, I understand Berkeley sounds to have been pretty successful. I think that's important to figure out that they're part of these conversations in terms of what the needs are for the community.
Mr. President?
Chancellor?
Yes, several things. I think Trustee Yen is pointing something very important. I think we do have to continue, and not only continue, but expand that outreach. There was certainly a great deal of outreach in Berkeley City College. There were a lot of forums that included people from the community that were specifically engaged, advisory groups, and the like. And that, based on the time constraints, didn't really happen in this process. But I do think we need to go back out and certainly explain what we're doing. This is a picture, and it's going to move. And I think we need to go back and now show people what we have, show them this picture, show them, in fact, what we're thinking. And as we go through the phases, as we go through the elements, get their involvement, get their input. But I think this really speaks to what is the experts' perspective and presented to our constituent group and stakeholders, primarily on the campuses. But I don't think you're wrong. I think we do need to go out and reach back into the community, perhaps into some advisory groups and some of the special programs of excellence, and get their input, particularly on smart classrooms and other innovations consistent with industry and trade.
I also wanted to add to that, Trustee, that part of what we're doing with Measure A, for instance, is getting the project status, the budget, and sending those to the public libraries in all our constituencies, to the mayor's office, to the district. And so this effort is going on, and we have somebody who is going to be assisting us to do the outreach part of this, so that the community regularly get inputs on oncoming events that has to do with the expenditure of funding and what we are planning to do, not only because of the funding itself, but an awareness of what programs are available that they can participate in our colleges.
Trustee Handy?
I want to get back to the master plan for Laney. again. In looking at this concept, one of the real issues that we have at Laney is it looks like a prison. It's from day one, I was wondering why we couldn't just put some lipstick on a pig, paint the thing or something to make it fit more in with the environment. It doesn't have a good feel. It doesn't have anything that really makes the students want to kind of hang around and be there. It doesn't have that kind of comfortable, warm, feely touch. In saying that, and looking at some of the things that are proposed, I think one of the most important things that we have to look at is that we do have to create a student quad type of environment, and where we have this naturally occurring with the performance arts there in the student center. One of the problems is that our student services center, where our students are going to be, start to finish, is way out there in the boondocks. And if there are any changes that are going to take place, I can't understand why we would not want to move that into a central location. As you pointed out in some of the other areas, some of the spaces that we have there, looking at putting atrium covers or whatever to make that more inviting. But I think that given best case scenario, knowing what we have and what we can afford, I think that the priority should stay with making our campuses more student-centered. That's why we lose them to outlying places that have more land or whatever, and they're just more touchy-feely. But for student services, definitely should come out of the boondocks and should come back into this area. I understand we have some buildings here in your master plan, like computer technology. You have written in there proposed moves, but there are buildings that don't have anything identified, and I think we should really consider looking at making that a part of it. I also have an issue with, yes, our main interest is on 7th Street, 8th Street. Why that street has two different numbers, I don't know. It's been a little confusing for us. But I think you're right in the assumption that that is the natural entrance of the building. That may shift if BART does continue with the village that they're proposing to build there. But if that is going to be the opening to our center, then why would we want to put another block building right there blocking that? Where I think that's an opportunity for, I don't know if you, yeah, right here where you have proposed putting a building right there. Whereas right now that is the open walkway. Why would we not propose something more? First of all, let's get to why are we building another building when possibly you say that we're overbuilt there. So that's the one consideration that I want to look at, because I don't understand how we're going to be able to factor that over. We don't know what's going to happen in 20 years from now, but we know right now that we are overbuilt for this, and that would be something that would cause us some issues right now. Am I mistaken on that? No, I see Frank nodding his head.
This new building is a replacement. So it's roughly the same square footage, give or take, that's there now in F building.
A replacement for what?
For building F.
The building F is still there currently?
Yes.
You're saying that you take down one and put in the other?
Correct.
Right. But how long of what is the phasing time for that to happen? How long would we be in the out of compliance, overbuilt category or stage?
You would have to make your first set of corrections when you build the new library. And so that's where tearing down building F at that time comes in. You would have to remove an equivalent amount of space to the size of building F once the library is completed and is in use. That's
So we're talking about how many years on that?
We're looking at, say, between now and 2015.
correct.
And also the other
6
part.
years.
Yes, the other part that we're looking at is, were we to do that, we will take the existing library offline until we have programs that can be able to make it usable in order for us to report that and calculate it as space to the State Chancellor's office.
But right now we don't have the calculated use for.
Right now we do. We do have the intent of programs that we can use it for, because we needed to submit that information to the State Chancellor's office in order for them to accept the new project. But one thing that has to do with the sciences is that while College of Alameda is going to be having a science building C&D, and Mary College having the Allied